Hope everybody had a good one. Okay, Justin. We'll go with you first.
Hello, everyone. I think we're back on. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Um, all right, so we're here to present the first draft budget to the commission. I think Justin emailed that out a little bit ago, and we're free to start wherever you would like.
Is this the interim budget or the draft budget? This interim or draft budget?
The email that Justin sent out.
This is the draft budget for the interim filing of the FY26 budget. And it does have fiscal year 25 numbers, within it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Does monetary too.
I'm gonna go off the one that was sent at 9:48 a.m.
So Justin, do you want to share screen? We can
Yeah,
pull
I
up,
can do that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, if you'd like, we can just
Yes.
start with the summary or wherever you would like us to
That's fine.
walk through it. And for walking through it, I will have Justin do that as this is his pretty amazing creation here. I like that it's really logically laid out. You'll see there's a summary tab, and then it goes into transfers, which, as we all know, should net to zero between the funds, and they do. And then it goes into, the different, of course, the revenues, the estimates on revenues that we were waiting on last time. And then the different departments are the tabs, off to the right there. And so, Justin, why don't you take us through the big picture here on the summary tab, and then we'll answer questions as we go.
Sure. Are you seeing my screen right now?
We
Yeah.
are.
Oh, excellent. So the first tab is a great first place to start. It has by department the total revenues, which are net of transfers, and then total expenses. So it's just to help orient you, the negative numbers are revenues, and the positive numbers are expenditures. So if you look down at the totals, these are totals for all the general fund compartments combined. You can see in the far right column J, we have total proposed budget for general fund, 8.7 million revenues net of certain transfers out, and just under $10 million total expenditures. That nets to a deficit of 1.27 million. And we're backing out here in row 38, certain non-recurring capital expenditures are in the budget, such as the $250,000 request from road department to do some culvert projects. That makes up the majority of the number. And there's a couple of vehicles that were requested that are in here as well. And so the adjusted change is a deficit of 900,000.
And within that number, I just want to point out to the commission that this is maintaining everything that they had in last year's budget as far as the positions that are vacant and may have changed, or the commission may will want to change for FY26. So again, this is just, the first draft coming to the commission to not change it too much from what was there in the past, since we don't know the direction that the commission will want to go with it. But right now it is showing that if you passed it the way it was, you would be using up 1.3 million approximately of cash balance in order to balance the budget. And 371 of that, like Justin said, is fine because it's one-time expenditures. But there still are those vacancy positions of about 900,000 or so that would be using up cash balance if you kept them.
Thank you, Audrey. And just talk a little bit more about the general fund before we look at the special revenue and capital project funds. Included in this estimate, the biggest source of revenue, of course, is property tax as well as GRT. And there's a little bit of an element to conservatism in those estimates in that we're using the 2024 property tax valuations and multiplying it out by the mill levy rates. That's really the standard practice that's used by counties and recommended by DFA. It's not required that be used. I know there have been some 3% increases that the assessor was referencing to earlier in the commission meeting, but it's still good to just kind of keep it at that same prior year level. But yeah, it could be 3% higher. And I did not deduct, our estimate for the veterans exemption, which we calculated out at an impact on property tax revenue of about $10,000, which is pretty de minimis. I mean, that's kind of a rounding error when you're looking at, well, that's not the number here, but property taxes 7 million in the general fund, and then there's more monies that are allocated towards other funds as well. So your actuals could end up being a little bit higher for revenues, and your expenditures may come in a little bit less, assuming there are, throughout the year, various vacant positions that are budgeted for payroll, which makes up about 70% of your total expenditures in the general fund. So I think you'll see in reality this deficit will be likely much less if you stick to the budget at the end of FY26. This is roughly 6% of cash, about $22 million cash currently. So if it's a fraction of that, it would be a manageable percent change potentially. I'm going to scroll down here. After that, we have all of our special revenue fund departments. So that consists of, corrections fund, road fund, fire excise tax. All the volunteer fire departments are listed out here. Continuing down, lodgers, clerks, DWI, recruitment funds, some of the various special appropriations, and the federal funds like ARPA, the abatement opioid fund are down here at the bottom. So a lot of those are, reimbursement basis, they're self-funding. Others, like, some of these federal funds were advanced funding. So that's the reason for really most of the deficit in the special revenue funds here. We've subtracted out the opioid, ARPA, and local assistance tribal, the LITCF fund, which were advanced funded. And I'll take this moment to note that this is, like Audrey said, a draft for the interim budget. So a lot of these numbers that are in like grant funds, so like NMDOT grant, for example, they're really rough numbers right now. In the final budget that's approved for before July 31st, that's when we'll really hammer out the remaining grant balances on some of these. So if you guys look in the subsequent tabs, especially near the back where the grant funds are, I have some notes saying basically this will be updated at final. We'll have to do grant reconciliations and get them exact. So let me summarize So you'll see a lot of these, they zero out between revenue and expenditure. The road fund. The road fund and the corrections are the two primary recipients of transfers from the general fund. So I'm gonna jump ahead and just show you those amounts. There's a transfer schedule too on the second tab to where you can see all the various transfers. So we have from the 1/12 GRT fund and the HHGRT transfers out of 2.4 million, and over 743,000 of that are temp transfers. So we need to deduct those. It's 1.7 million is really the amounts being transferred out of general to special revenue funds to subsidize those. All right, and in the road department, see they're getting transfers in. It's less than last year, currently 1.05 million, which is kind of consistent. If you look at the prior years here, it's kind of growing towards that number. So that is consistent with prior year transfer in for road. And that also, that incorporates this $250,000 for the culverts that I referenced to earlier for non-recurring projects. And corrections has transfers in of 196,000 to help balance that department. So those are the two biggest funds that are receiving a transfer in for subsidy. Fire funds, these are mainly consistent with the prior year numbers. There was one kind of big change that was requested, and that was to let me scroll down here, to provide funding for a repeater. So in there, I wanted to see, maybe it's in the fire excise tax fund. Yeah, okay. So fire excise tax was what I was thinking of. There's a big increase here to this line item, 291,000. So increase of almost $250,000 from the prior year, and that's to provide funding for a permanent repeater. That's a non-recurring expenditure, but it is being kind of self-funded by various fire departments, optionally reducing their inventory and supplies balances for the current year. So it doesn't really have a net impact on the total deficit. But yeah, the actual fire funds themselves are largely unchanged from the prior year. What I've seen in the past is not all of them are using all their supplies expense and inventory expense each year. So they're accumulating fund balances typically in those fire funds that allows eventually for some capital expenditure. And they do have the various fire grants, which have not been trued up yet. Again, those will be trued up in the final budget. Lodgers tax. So lodgers tax, I think there's room to tweak this a little bit. There's some excess being built up, $20,000, $21,000 fund balance increase in that. So that could be potentially, balanced to zero if there are any adjustments that you want to make to that. Not much to say on some of these funds here. DWI, I've trued that up to the FY26 grant amounts. They provided budgets as part of the grant application, so I tied to those grant applications. The law enforcement recruitment funds, a lot of those, they phase out over time. So they give you like 100% of salaries in the first year, and then it's 50%, and then it's 25%. So we have one fund here that's only getting $56,000. That's because it's in its third year, the 25% year. Another one rolled off. And has zero for this 213 fund. And then the LEPF, that 114,000 has been trued up to the actual distribution amount provided by the states. That's pretty close to what it was last year, just a $3,000 drop. Yes program is in balance, and that ties to the FY26 award amount. Same thing with maternal child health care. It's kind of loosely associated with the YES program. NMDOT amounts, as I said earlier, not yet trued up, but it should be in balance in the final budget. Same with legislative appropriations. I did update these to the current balances, but it will change. And ARPA has a remaining fund balance of 155,000. So I just put it to there's only one line item for the expense on that. So I just budgeted the remaining amount. This is something worth mentioning here. The Local Government Abatement Opioid Fund has accumulated a balance over time that has not been yet spent. So that's one thing that I'd bring to the commission's attention as an opportunity to, there's various allowable uses in that fund. I can get you a whole list. There's like a multi-page list of allowable uses. I think Cy already has a copy of that. And yeah, I would recommend, you guys can budget for, supplies expense, for example, for what is it, Narcan, that sort of thing, or various professional services that are allowed to be spent out of that fund. So. And the LATCF has a fund balance of 393,000 currently. Last year, 100,000 was budgeted and spent, but you could potentially budget and spend more. And the MCMC hospital fund, it is getting more money from investment income that is being budgeted and spent. So that could, I did just increase it to 40,000 to tie to our estimated investment income. So made that available for expenditure. That's it for the special revenue. So I think this deficit, once some of those grant funds get trued up with final, will be closer to zero. Except for the advanced funding. All right, so capital project funds, these are mostly grant related. So it's the airport grants for the federal, the FAA, and from state NMDOT airport improvement grants. These amounts will be trued up at final. Tiger 9 is has no expenditures budgeted. It's done in OBE. We have the $75,000 implementation grant budgeted for this year. If there's a remaining balance, I think needs to be spent this year, right, Commissioner Trujillo?
It was extended for 1 year.
Okay.
Part of it, they do have an amendment letter coming out. OBE does. Christy, or Madam Assessor here, is working on her GIS system, and I forget how much it was, but it's roughly half that amount.
Okay. So yeah, we'll true up that amount to the carryover for the final budget. Just gonna take notes, sorry. Okay. And then debt service, these amounts are different than the version that I sent earlier this morning. I went through, as you guys were in closed session, I trued it up to the actual amounts on the amortization schedules that were provided by DFA last week to us. The interest amounts had changed, causing some questions to come my way. So these are the actual amounts. in the correct amounts.
And just,
And Justin, we should. Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
I was curious to know if our, general obligation bond is on that as well, or is that just the intercept?
General, so there's the HHGRT. Is that a new issuance, Commissioner?
No, it's been for a while. We pay it in February and in August of each year.
I'm wondering if that might be this one. So pay out of
Mm-hmm.
2015 bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is on here. It's the only one that's, I think, is not one of the fire loans.
Seems low, but Commissioner,
Yeah, I just so in total it's for 439,000 between principal and interest. I just tied that to the amortization schedule.
oh, gotcha. Thank you.
So what else? And then, cumulative on the fire. It's 149,000 between it's actually 5 different loans. One of these has 2 loans in it. I think one of them gets paid off in FY25, so it'll be down to 4 fire loans after the end of after the end of FY26.
And then Monday, I think it was Monday when we had our fire budget workshop, they were asking about the Moreno debt service, and so we did check into that. And Justin, you matched it up to the amortization, so you saw the roughly $30,000 was correct.
Yeah, it was like a few $100s off on interest just from sometimes there's a timing difference. They put out a draft amortization schedule, and then if it takes a few extra days to close, it'll be slightly off and they'll issue a new schedule. So,
But they had thought that maybe they shouldn't be having any debt, or that it had already been paid off, but you're seeing that
They
there's
still have a few years
still
left on their payoff schedule. It
there's
says Moreno Valley right at the top of the loan agreement. So
And do you remember what was that description again? I know I asked you earlier. It was on
yeah,
it was like, I think to build a fire station or remodel a fire station, I think.
The old one.
yeah, I
Build
have
one.
that info. Give me a second.
Okay. That's all right. I just wanted to kind of follow up on that for those who were asking that question, that it's a valid budget line item still.
Yeah, it's for renovations on the Valverde station. And then so that's in balance. It has no net effect on fund balance. And then the enterprise fund, now we're just down to solid waste now that the airport fund is no longer in use. It does still have the raise grant associated with it. This is kind of a rough number. I can get it kind of trued up to a actual amount per contract, but it's going to be very close to that amount. And solid waste is in balance here. The subsidy on that was $300,025, and because of rate increases, I've reduced it to $167,000 subsidy to balance this fund. And it could potentially not even need that amount. And the FY25 has already been adjusted for that 40% rate increase in 23. So that's it. That's kind of the high level summary. We do have, the line item detail in each one of these tabs. So if any of the commission members want to take a close look at any particular department, we can go ahead and do that, or I'll stand for any other questions that you might have.
Not at this moment. Go ahead.
So Justin, you said that there's still a balance in the ARPA funds of 150,000.
Yes.
Was that not supposed to already be, is that encumbered funds or is it already?
Yeah, so it could be, I think it is encumbered in FY 25. So any funds like that where there's, if it's grant based, for the interim, I'm just kind of trying to put the best numbers that we have at the moment in there. But it's very likely to be fully expended, I think, by the end of the year.
Okay.
It might be zero.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know we had to expend it or whatever was left retransferred into general fund.
Yeah, so we transferred the amount that was unencumbered. So if it's still there, it means it's encumbered by some PO.
Okay, thank you. And then, so if we're looking at the, I'd like to determine what vacancies they are if we're at a 1.2 million shortfall that you're saying that we still have.
Yeah, I did actually, I have an Excel that lists all the vacancies. And this, you know, if they were recently filled in the last couple of weeks, the information might be slightly stale, but when we were provided the salary schedule by Danielle just a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, these were the vacancies at the time.
And then if we, was it saying that we do have a cash balance of that if we don't fill these vacancies of 1.2?
You have sufficient cash balance, yes.
So we're pretty much balance if we do not fill these positions.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So indigent care, that's correct. That one's gone. Grant writer's gone. Maintenance we never filled. Deputy, the clerk, that never came to commission yet. Treasurers is filled, right?
Yeah, I think I heard him say that earlier.
And warden, I believe her sergeant is filled. No, okay. Sheriff, do you still have that one open position? Two open. And then there's 4, which looks correct, but we have one additional opening, right, for the jail? As far as the detention officer? Yeah, so we should have, well,
There's
I'm just confused, I guess, on the bottom. Yes.
And the correct one, we're actually.
Yeah.
is
So
that showing 7 open on detention officer? And then there's a sergeant and another sergeant.
Correct, yeah, 7 officers, 2 sergeants.
So, I don't know if you heard that. There's 1 sergeant position open and 7 officer positions open. So 8 in total.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Mr. Stevens on the road operator, you are 4 short. So there are 4 up there. So that is correct. So Justin, would you mind entertaining me the positions that are filled? Do you mind maybe deleting like the number in column L to see what that number is? Just
I'm sorry, what do you want me to do?
like line 53L, if we just delete that far right number, does that adjust the formula down below?
Okay, yeah, I can just do this real quick here.
Yep.
So now it's 1.1.
1.1. And we haven't adjusted any kind of pay or anything like that for correct within this.
No, the salary numbers are largely unchanged. I only made a small change to treasurers, which kind of netted to 0 to reallocate some of the existing budget between positions.
Okay.
But otherwise, no change.
Thank you.
And I did, just kind of fully fleshing this out here, but the YES program, I updated the numbers to match the contract amounts. It had not been updated from prior years.
Thank you. Those answered my two rough questions that I had for now. Just,
Yes,
you said that vacancy tab's in what you sent us as well?
no, it's a separate Excel. I can just shoot it off right now while we're talking.
Yeah. Well, do what you need to do with those two things you deleted. I want you to make sure you're good there.
I'm probably good to just delete those columns and then I'll send it over to you.
I just like to look at that later. Commissioners, anything? Dan?
I just sent that out to you guys.
This one here, that the one we're on first, your projected payroll, that's as ever position open, that's not shortages.
Yeah, so I sent a salary schedule. I added a summary tab to the front, which I think you're referring to. I think I'll only show that tab because it's a public hearing, but there are individual salaries in the subsequent tabs. But so yes, this is including vacant positions.
Okay.
Fully loaded, 8.5 million.
Okay.
And then does this include longevity as well? Or yeah, it does. Sorry, it says with
Yeah.
longevity.
It also includes things like overtime and certain fringe benefits, just for everybody's knowledge.
Thank you.
See, just talking here, but you can see sheriff and detention make up just under 50% of the total payroll costs, probably like 45, 46%.
So Justin, I do see that we have the indigent care in the managers tab. That position is no longer within our department. That's within the jails.
Yeah, I'll take note to get that fixed.
You could exclude the grant writer as well.
So just eliminate that position entirely.
I would. I mean, we've agreed not to bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Overtime?
Is overtime really necessary in a manager's office? We never had it before.
With some of the stuff we do, I feel like that'd be a fair amount for the year, especially with the new people in their positions. Some have, trainings, New Mexico Edge, other certifications where they have to come in on Fridays to attend those trainings, like the CPO classes all week long. We did incur overtime this year, but that was mostly on the financial director's position to bring up get stuff in line to get to JAG or to the auditors. So I don't anticipate that, but I'd feel comfortable with it.
I'll do it myself and fire marshal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nate, that probably doesn't even touch Nate's overtime and Tom's. There is one thing I'd want to discuss later, but just getting through this part for now. It involves,
And the road department does have budgeted overtime as well of the same amount, $10,000. Elimination of the grant writer position would save just over $93,000.
and then, so Justin, when we moved we gave dollar amounts for indigent care to that person that's doing that. Is that factored into this on your employee side?
I couldn't speak to that offhand,
Okay.
but I can take a note to check.
Yes, if you would. So it's going to be indigent care is going to be Leslie Thompson with the jail, and then Chris Hanlon with E911. Those were the two that had the slight increases to get rid of the position of the E911 and indigent care within the manager's office. So overall, we are seeing a savings from prior.
Take a note on that.
Thank you. That's not going to be much, but
One other note is I did reduce attorney expense from FY25 to FY26 since that's been moved in-house. I budgeted $50,000 just to allow for, potentially, if there were other matters that come up where a third-party attorney is needed. That amount is, you're welcome to adjust that amount to whatever you feel is appropriate.
what was the dollar amount?
Let me see if I can find it. I forget, was that in commission? Here it is. So it's under commission budget. You can see I reduced it from 150 to 50.
Okay. I think that's fine. We do need to somehow, even though the current county attorney's paying underneath the manager's office, he does incur expenses, and per the contract, so I'd anticipate 20,000 a year.
And that's under manager's office. So there's
Maybe yeah.
per diem and mileage expense. I can increase the per diem slightly if you feel appropriate. So like, I don't know, 5,000 perhaps or more. It's already a little bit up from prior year.
Yeah, I think 5,000 would be fair. And then maybe subscriptions and dues.
Right.
I'd say 1,000. Yeah. I think that should be sufficient.
We already increased for the association accounting dues.
I'm not sure.
Did.
No, that was just for Soto's stuff.
That went up.
Have we factored in future costs of insurance
Yeah.
from New Mexico counties and the Long
Yeah.
form.
So, I do have the capital adequacy invoice, the exact amount, on this line item for insurance assessment.
So that was just the assessment.
That was just the assessment. These numbers, basically, I think these four numbers came directly from New Mexico County's, the finance director sat down with them and came to these numbers.
So this is a question I'm gonna have. Do you know, is this prior year's numbers or future years numbers that we're gonna be charged?
Should have been for the FY 26 projection, and
So it's future
maybe
number?
Leroy can speak more to that, but those numbers came from him and his discussion with them.
Okay. And then since we're talking about the insurance side of things, I know in the legislative session, they talked about covering the cost of all municipalities and counties for the health insurance. I guess you have that split up among every department, right?
Yeah, so health insurance is allocated by the individual to the different departments.
Okay, I just have a hard time believing it's gonna. I mean, we could probably leave it the same. I just have a hard time thinking it's gonna be roughly the same. I think we're gonna see a spike.
Yeah, so I think I did ask Danielle and HR to take a look at those numbers to see what an appropriate increase might be. They've not been adjusted in this current draft. It's probably, I would expect maybe some percent increase there. So I think you know, if it's 5% or something across the whole county, that adds up pretty fast. Actually, I can tell you, just to give me an idea here.
I mean, we could leave it at that.
It's 1.1 million unadjusted. So 5% of that's $56,000.
A 5% increase is 56,000.
Mhm.
And I think that would be. I mean, that's on the light side and fair, but I mean, we could, to the commission's decision. I don't know if you want to leave it, we deal with it later if something does change and come in. Or you factor a percentage increase. I'm just trying to think of past issues that.
Yeah, I'd probably go ahead and put it in there. We can always pull it back if they don't. But
Great.
from what I'm seeing on,
I think 5% is low, but I think, I mean, that gives you,
Yeah, because we were up 9.
so see, I was thinking 15. But nine's in that middle and and that still goes in line with the state. I'm comfortable going to 9. Chairman?
go an even 10 and we'll see what happens.
Right.
So 9% is right around 100,000, 10% is 112.
Just go to,
Okay, well, I'm taking note here to do 10, so I'll get that into the next draft.
Folks have already went 9.
yeah, we were already informed of 9. It was like 9.3.
Okay.
Justin, one question on the managers on the salaries.
Yes.
The executive assistant number 5. We've got that one double accounted for because he's also accounted for 50% under the lodger's tax. So it should be
Only half.
only half of the 37.5 on the manager's schedule.
Yep.
So 50% lodgers, 50% manager.
Yes.
The solid waste as well, right?
He's got that one balanced completely under solid waste.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Okay.
But the other one was double accounted for.
Thank you.
I didn't see that.
Solid waste. And Justin, I'd just like to bring it back, because the one person that could protest the budget, as we talked about today, is the assessors. So can we look at the assessors 1%, property valuation fund to show what that's looking like, making sure we got it funded.
Have that tab up right now. So we have funding here from taxes, which is consistent with prior year. Salaries are unchanged from prior year. Actually, it looks like there's just a couple tweaks here to a couple line items. Looks like $1,000 and $2,000 decrease, and that's said. And we've added non-recurring expenditure. I didn't get provided a number here, so I put 50,000 for a vehicle. And I think emergency department also requested a new vehicle. I put 65 for them. They probably need something, you know, a few more extras than the assessor's office would need. So,
Sheriff Pocket, real quick, on your vehicle, what's a rough estimate that you've got in a vehicle that's fitted out?
100.
Yeah.
that's why it was on my list to ask. So I'm glad I can change that. Your for emergency department, I can change that to 100 right now.
How much is it, Sheriff? Outfitted. 73,000, that's it?
So let's go with 75, Justin.
Yeah.
75 for emergency or for assessors?
Emergency.
Emergency.
Yeah, that one's fine, right?
Yes.
So
I
just.
don't like the 28.
Yep. Right.
Visit that I have with vendors.
Yes, sir. Okay. So 75,000 is current and it's expected to go up 5%. Okay, thank you.
I feel 75 would be within reason because we're not putting cages and
Yeah.
et cetera in there, but it still provides for wrapping and maybe some kind of light or something. Madam Assessor, what'd you say yours was?
You know,
Okay. Thank you.
really that tunnel cover.
And then commissioners, are we good with the property valuation then? That's what's in there currently, just to show. It's 282,900.
It's the same as last year.
Yeah. So,
It's actually higher.
yeah,
230 last year.
Pretty much the same once you back out the vehicle.
vehicle, vehicle gives you an extra almost 20%.
And on the subject of assessors, on the actual, not the property valuation, but I also added a request for laptops. I think it was 5 at $1,250 per.
Yeah.
I just rounded up for tax a little bit. So.
And these non-recurring will come out of cash balance.
Yes. And so those 3 or 4 items we just talked about and the culverts are what I'm backing out right here on the first summary tab in row 38. So just to kind of show you, what's the actual recurring budgeted deficit in general fund.
So I do have a few more commissions. Okay with me asking? Commissioner Kern? Justin, I know today we had 2 other groups that wanted to be here, but they're just not able to. So USDA, the agricultural, you got those numbers I sent over, right? And factored in?
I'll have to double check that. I'm not recollecting that off the top of my head. I kind of have a folder where I've been processing those.
Yeah.
I was looking at them last night. I don't remember coming across that. So I'll take note to ensure that gets in.
Thank you. And then also the ag extension services. If you would take note to that. Because those are together,
160.
yeah, 160,000.
And I know, talking about special revenues, the one you provided me for a senior center, I had a question for you on that one. You sent me a funding request and it was for $40,000.
Okay.
And I don't know, looking at the senior citizen tab here, so there was a contract for, in FY25 is 182,000. I don't have the 26 contract on that. And I don't know if the 40,000 you sent me is in addition to this or in replacement of this amount.
No, I think it would be in addition, because what we're doing is we're funding the Colfax Senior Citizen Centers, which encompass Cimarron, Springer, and Raton. And then
Eagle
redo,
Nest too.
and the Eagle Nest is separate though, because they're separate from the Colfax County Senior Centers.
Really?
Yeah, they're their own entity up there. So those. Yeah, I'll work on getting some numbers. I'll reach out. My next question is going to be to the jail or VMDC.
So there's two different tabs. So I'll start with the VMDC tab. There's a separate, that's the general fund portion, and then there's the corrections tab as well.
Let me ask.
The revenue side of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask the warden. Where do you keep the? Where do you pay MRS out of? What? The 411 corrections fund.
That'll be this tab.
Okay.
So it's gonna be an inmate offsite.
Inmate offsite
47026.
47026.
So that's this line right here. And
Yep.
that has been lowered from prior year based on the warden's advice.
Okay.
150,000 from 300.
Okay. Thank you. I feel that's fair and within reason. And just to bring the commission and the public up to comment on that, this is the 8th Judicial District is bringing in-house their monitoring services. So with them doing so, we believe that we will probably see a savings over that line item.
Bless you.
Any other questions or comments?
Not at the moment.
I have a question to the warden. We have the RISE grant. Is that going to repeat in FY26?
He's already applied for it, but hold on, she's gonna get a mic.
Okay.
Justin, I've applied for it. I won't know probably till maybe the middle of this month, maybe the end of this month, whether or not I got approved.
Okay. So yeah, if you let me know before interim gets approved, we'll get it into the interim budget. Otherwise, let me know before the final budget in July.
Okay, I can shoot you an email today on what I requested for the grant. It's gonna be slightly a little bit more than what we have now, not by much, but I will send you that number so you can put in the interim.
Just take it with you in case somebody else needs it, ma'am.
I have a few other comments that I'd like to see as a commissioner, but just throwing it out there. I'm kind of done running through this just for right now, unless you guys had anything more you'd want to.
I don't know. Does anyone want to go down their category individually? Clerk, treasurer, assessor, sheriff?
Any public comment?
And do we have public?
It's advertised as a public comment.
Yeah, they haven't seen it or received it. I mean, we just got it, so they haven't even seen
Yeah.
it yet.
Okay, can you make?
Departments were provided a draft of this a couple of weeks ago and provided comment on their own individual department budgets.
Okay, can you go ahead and send each department theirs so they can review it?
Yes, I'll send out the current draft. Or if it's okay, Commissioner Trujillo, I'll send it to you to disseminate.
Yeah, that's fine.
Either way.
Either way works.
Will that work? Yes, ma'am.
And so the county needs to approve an interim budget before the end of the month. So I think the goal is to approve this at the next commission meeting. That would be before month end.
Well, that would be,
Whatever your process is that you've normally used is fine. Do you do another hearing?
I believe we do have to have 2 hearings.
Yes.
But I mean, do you do it like separately or within your commission meeting?
We usually would like have it before the commission meeting and then approve it at the
At the
meeting.
Okay.
But we could do that, maybe take those corrections that we spoke of now, make that our interim for the time being. We could hold a budget workshop, public input before our next meeting, put it on the agenda for the next meeting as approving the interim.
Mhm.
As this would be stated, it would show us pulling still probably right now 1.3 million from reserves. But this wouldn't be the final, it'd just be the interim.
Right.
Would that commission?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
still following numbers. Yeah, that'd be fine with me.
And this is I haven't,
It's as a pre, yeah.
yeah.
I'm happy to answer anyone's question kind of in that interim period, or if you guys have any, requested updates or changes that you see need to be made, just let me know and we can get them made and discuss them at the next meeting.
So I know it's been kind of floated and discussed for months, the commission. But I wanted to make sure we had enough in professional services too, if we need to extend JAG or any other services that we're currently using. We have it budgeted for 200 and adjusted.
That's the prior year amount was 200. I put 135 as a placeholder. And I think that number has room for adjustment if you feel it needs to be more or less.
Okay. Thank you. Commission, any thoughts, comments on that number? Being no comments, we'll just leave it as is for now. And I'm just skimming through the commission and managers real quick. So Justin, on your drug testing, on the commissions, I guess the commission gets hit with the drug testing costs of the whole county. Does that sound correct, commissioners?
Yes.
And we only have I see what you did there. It's pretty much the average. I just don't know how we spent.
That
So
could probably be bumped up to 6 or 7,000 reasonably. You'd like to do that?
Commissioner Kern?
No, I think it's been exorbitantly high because I just don't know if anybody's been actually watching.
Mhm.
Or
Uh,
we do, oh, sorry, go ahead.
you know, because outside of new hires, which we haven't had that many, our maintenance ones are only
Jail,
the anybody that operates a vehicle.
yeah.
So it seemed like, and I think I commented before in one of the commission meetings that I thought it was too high, but
So we could leave it the same, Justin.
And so,
We'll try to keep to that. If not, we need to go find a new supplier for the drug testing.
there's the pretty significant cuts to the sheriff's. Overtime was cut big and vehicle fuel and maintenance.
mm,
So Commissioner Kern, I believe overtime is at 65,000, because that was the original budget in FY 25. And it has been adjusted through bars throughout the year, to that higher number. So that's optional to you if you want to kind of start with the higher number in FY 26 or kind of allow it to have commissioner control throughout the year.
I feel like that would be within I honestly don't know, but I'd hope that with newer vehicles, it'd be less maintenance issues. Since the majority of the fleet would have been replaced within the last 2 years.
And I would agree with that. And that exact thought went through my mind. The only part that concerns me is our deductible now, insurance wise. I don't know if
No,
that comes out of that fund or not.
does it? I agree with that then.
And because every wrecked vehicle is 10 grand.
And I hate saying this, but I would at least get
That's the
2
only,
vehicles.
that's
to
why-
get
yeah, that's
matched
the
up.
only thing that concerns me on that one.
and that's your drug testing also. Every time one of the vehicles crash, they got to be drug tested, or that's one more. Anyway,
Yeah.
rejected.
So I'd probably say add 100,000 to that. But we could let the sheriff.
Well, so I've been working on a lot of other things, so I started to go through this. So I'll be sending stuff to JAG
Okay.
in that spreadsheet with my justifications. But with the insurance concern is there for me, it's $10,000 a claim, which comes out of my maintenance line item.
So that needs to go up.
And so I added, I think it was recommended for 40,000 and I bumped it up to 80, I think, is what my recommendation was. The most, knock on wood, crashes we've had in any given year is 4, but that's $40,000 right off the top of that line item. For one instance, so. But I'll be sending those in by the end of the week to Justin.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It's looking pretty consistent to prior year. What about Justin, clerks and maintenance and probate? Are they all pretty consistent as well?
Yeah, most didn't really take any
Did you look
sort of hit like that. C clerks is at 102%, so that's consistent. Elections is down because it's an off year, not a general election.
Justin, yes, we have the regular local election this year, so there's still an election going on.
Yeah, so there's still budgeted amounts, just not as much as the general election year.
Yours.
Justin, we will also have the primary.
Yeah, so please, like we said, we'll have Cy send these out. So I did take note here. I just said this is an estimate. So please, compare to prior years that were kind of in the same election cycle as this year, and kind of do
Okay, so we'll get
an
with,
adjustment on that accordingly. Yeah.
okay,
What I remember from the workshop was that we were gonna have Justin take a look at the year that it was a similar year, which I think he did do. He went back to a previous year where there wasn't the general, and then that was the number that oh yeah, it says right there, the FY23 year that he looked at. But of course, if this needs to be adjusted up or down, just let us know. We can absolutely do that before the next meeting.
okay. I will just take a look at everything and then let you guys know. Okay, thank you.
Sure. I just wanted to get a sense here while we're kind of skimming through things, if everything was pretty similar. Justin, what about probate?
Actually, Audrey, before we go on to probate, this is Daniel. On the year to check, it should be an even numbered fiscal year. Because when you look at an odd numbered fiscal year, you only have one statewide election, but in an even numbered fiscal year, you have two statewide elections that take place.
Good point. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do
Right,
that.
so probate was unchanged, Audrey. It's literally no change from prior year. Not a lot going on
Treasures.
in there.
We
And
already went over assessor. What about treasures?
treasures.
A little bit of
Very
increase.
similar, yeah. Just a couple small tweaks in there.
Anything else down the line to the right?
No, that's it on treasures.
I mean, on the tabs, sorry, on the tabs.
Oh, yeah, we can. I don't think we want to go much past there, the orange or the grant based ones, but so we talked about all those. We looked at emergency management briefly. Could add, well, so here's an open question. I was requested to add $10,000 for wildfire suppression. And I did not know which line item to add it to. So I put it to supplies, but I don't know if it was supposed to be like temp positions or some other line item or a mix of both. So.
And I think that's what I was requesting, and speaking with Tom, it works out better where a lot of the expenses that Tom incurs has to be reimbursed, and Tom's usually waiting, 60 days, et cetera, because he has to come to the county first, get it approved, go to the state, get it approved, go to FEMA, get it approved, and it comes back to the county for final approval. And then in that time, he's waiting for reimbursement. So what I essentially would like to do is speed that up and reimburse Tom for some of those expenses ahead of time that are fine and good, legitimate expenses, and not have him wait 60, 90 days for reimbursement.
That's a good idea. And then the county seeks reimbursement from the state. And
yeah, and then this way
that reimburses from the feds. It's a whole chain.
And that would that be okay underneath that line item there, Justin, for what I described? Or should it?
So, it could be, per diem, supplies, and temp salaries. It's probably a mix of those three. I think if you look at the fire fund, at the wildfire suppression funds, you'd see kind of a mix of those different line items.
Okay.
So I can allocate it accordingly, but I've just thrown it into supplies for the moment.
And I think Chief could address this, but I think normally it runs through the fire funds. Wildland does.
No, I don't think it would because it
I mean,
just,
not the funds themselves, but I mean from an accounting perspective through that fund. Wildland.
do not know. I guess I'm not sure.
Okay. I'll take a look at that of where they normally run through for the
I know that-
reimbursement.
The volunteer fires, on that wildland goes to a separate account of each individual fire department and according to what they are paid and accrued. But it is not dispersed to employees, or volunteers, I should say. On his, it falls under a different category. Not exactly sure how though, and he disappeared. But I think his falls different than the rest of us due to he travels on several other things.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. That would be more of a question for him on expenditure, I believe.
Then Justin, what I was asking earlier, you have over in miscellaneous appropriations.
That's what I was just looking at. There's nothing budgeted yet.
So the USDA, we need to budget all that over.
Yeah, that hasn't been addressed yet.
Yeah, so you could go ahead and pretty much all that just transfer it over.
I'll look at the grant agreement, and if it's a different amount, we can tweak some of the numbers.
Okay.
I think Aaron said USDA's, their request was up. Whether or not we grant it, but the request was
Okay.
up.
Mhm.
I could actually look and see what the USDA grant was.
Of extension, he's got it in here.
I still don't know what that $6,000 is for extraterritorial zoning services. What they provide. I know it goes to the city, but what do they provide?
They provide our zoning control.
They provide what?
The zoning within the ETZ. They keep up with it. Really, it's more of a pain than anything.
Yeah.
We would have to decide if the commission wants to do away with that, but that's gonna be a whole nother
Headache.
headache.
Zoning for the ETZ.
And solid waste is pretty similar, except for the transfer we went over earlier.
There any,
We had adjusted that pretty well for FY25, so that's why it doesn't really require much adjustment for 26.
I guess my other question is, on the revenue side, I know the county receives a small amount of GRT. I would see that declining because the road construction that we have up on the pass is ending.
Yeah, but you're gonna have school constructions in the other parts of the county starting.
If that's all within the incorporated parts.
You still get county tax on it. You still get 1%,
Percentage.
not quite, 0.985. I don't know if it'll offset the road, but
What can we see on what the average has been over the last 3 years? Because that's the construction of what the past was.
So, I pulled this supporting schedule up for GRT. It has, prior year, actual 3.7. We are projecting a small increase there to 4.1. And which, well, I suppose that gets allocated across several funds here.
Did you say Pablo Fachada was gonna be done too? Or would you say?
they're still working on it. When's the intersection one here? 87.
We have a planning meeting coming up soon. But
That one's supposed to start.
I don't know.
Which one?
87.
Oh, on our side?
On I-25.
Supposed, wasn't it supposed to?
Because Maxwell School should be starting construction this fall.
See, ours started May the 5th. I thought that one starts May the 15th. Up here, I think it's
This one's
projected,
already going.
and they put it at May 15th.
Yeah, it's already going.
So, or the email I got on it anyway.
What I have is just an agreement on the USDA, not a dollar amount.
Prior year is probably the best information we have at the time, but if you get more info, let me know. And here's a question. The PILT revenue, payment in lieu of taxes. I did not see a current year amount received, but it has, consistently been received in the past. So that's a question for the current year, is that expected to come in? And I've projected that the same amount is going to be received in FY26 as in FY24. I mean, reality is probably a small increase, but
I think it was up, but I don't remember exactly how much, Justin.
great. I tried to, sometimes that's available online, but it's always like a year behind. So I couldn't find it right now. But I don't know, maybe someone can be assigned Commissioner Trujillo to track that down to see if you guys are due some amount before the end of the year.
Usually comes in June.
June, okay.
It does. We'll probably have some properties coming off the tax roll, but I don't anticipate I don't know what that is, not a clue. Some of those large ranches have gone to public entities that do not pay tax. And then you have the Dawson Ranch. I don't know if that sale's gone through yet or not, but that's gonna turn into
It didn't.
It didn't go through.
oh, it fell through.
Fell.
That's good.
Thank goodness. The way it was written. Hurt everybody.
Well, commissioners, I do want to ask for some other stuff. I'm just gonna plant the seed is all. One of my things that I'd like I saw if there was that wildfire protection fund to kind of help reimburse Tom. This is probably just an accounting thing I'd like to see done on the road department. I know we have to have a reserve met that's within there. I honestly would just like to see a line item that's 100,000 and we just never touch that. So if we have to, we can, but at least it's from the state standpoint, we'll always meet that. It'll be there.
Reserve.
Just maintain the reserve,
Separate.
that line item within and it'll still be, those funds will still be in the overall pool of funds. And we could, gain interest on them, et cetera, but. So that's 120. Because we've been dinged for that in the past.
Yeah, and when this all gets entered into LGBMS, it'll automatically calculate that amount. The system does that for you, and there is, sufficient cash.
But yeah, maybe we just do it like, that's why on an accounting side of things, I know it makes it so simple, but it's just, I feel like it's needed.
Mhm.
It's already calculated.
Yeah.
It's calculated, but we just hadn't done it in the past and we got dinged from DFA on it. I would like to see graphics on all the newer county vehicles that actually show that they're county vehicles. I don't know what that would entail, but I know if the assessor gets some roads, maintenance, VMDC.
And I'd like to see us get a graphic you could read and redo our county seal. Something that's simple and but identifying, because our current county seal is a mumble jumble garbled mess.
It's difficult to work with.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you can put it on a large graphic, but it doesn't work on a small graphic. So
You see them on the camera, but they freak out. Because they
Yeah.
yeah,
quite deep.
Yeah.
For these people.
Yeah. Well, that's something to think about, either redo a graphic or get it done. I'd like to have something where it's consistent all the way around.
I would too.
'Cause
All
you
the
got-
vehicles.
You got roads is different from everybody else, so.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
agree.
being a county vehicles.
And I agree. I think it should be on all of them other than the sheriff's unmarked vehicles.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
they are.
Sheriff.
They're very nice.
They look nice.
Yep. They're very nice. But I do think the road, all of the other departments should be consistent.
My other request, and this is gonna go into future grant requests, appropriations, and just kind of help the county get on there. This is, like I said, I'm not asking for this to go in here. I'm asking just to tell my fellow commissioners. I'd like to get the county roads map redone. Right now we just have it written on there. And I'd like it to be, maybe we could get an example from engineering analytics. What they did is they did pretty much a booklet, and in the booklet, and then you could have each section in there. And what they'll do is they would check the mileage, check the road, and give a general ledger of what the road is. Right now we have, each road has 3 names. So, someone comes to me, you tell me an A name, I don't know. I know it's probably in my district. But then you tell me there's Blosser Gap, but that's not Blosser Gap. That's, what's the other name? I don't know. Anyways, that's my point. So I would like to get that redone and formalize and make it nice. So when we do it too, and get it, and in doing so, it'd be put on a GIS system where the county could manipulate it later to adjust for any new roads through the assessor's office.
No, that's that.
Yeah, and then, so that would help with that, E911, probably the sheriffs, the roads, but also with us as a commission. We could also add the bridges into this thing. Well, we know the bridge has a number. It's the same way. The bridge has a number, a name, and then I don't know, the one you don't cross. So I did some rough estimating. I met with Glenn over and Heidi over at Engineering Analytics. It was roughly 30,000 to get that done. So just something to keep in mind as we work this, if that be a one-time expense that the commission was willing to incur, I think it'd help us out. And then we could have it internally and then update it as we go. We've had some issues over at the La Mesa Airfield. And Fred could probably contest to some of it. We do have people that go live out there. Take out their RV campers and stuff, but the state is willing to work with us on purchasing the material. And I just got a rough quote out there, what they would cost us to refence the Highway 555 side. And this would be $7,370 rounding up.
Is that for the labor?
Yeah, yeah. So this is 4-strand barbed wire fence, remove old fence, install pipe for H braces, 4 strands of barbed wire, and 2 drive gates at entrance. So we're gonna do, essentially it's the 2 gates where they're currently at, 2 gates up top. This way, Brad and them could secure the property. Right now it cannot be secured with the way the fence is. And then if the commissioner, whoever chooses to raise it or do whatever with it, there's just more control over that property.
So who's living?
If you're gonna graze it though, you better put a 4 wires.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just for now, I mean, it's a figure of 4 with the antelope and everything else. So something just to consider. And my other thought I would like for the commission to consider, and I know it's hard with seeing that deficit. But we are running into issues with the roads and maintenance. Maintenance is doing the best they can, but seem to be falling behind still with getting stuff completed. Need to probably, we've had that position open forever. We can't seem to get it filled. We need to probably see what we could do along those lines. I had Fred go out there and get a quote for doing all our yards and all our snow removal for the year. It came in roughly $70,000. So even if we just went out and hired a new employee and increased his pay and just told him to do yards and snow removal, would be money ahead. The other issues, roads. I mean, essentially today, this week, Glenn's down to 2 operators a day, right? So from 12, we recently had, and I say 2 just because 2 are away. So he has 4 employees right now, excluding him and Heidi. But a lot of these guys are going out and getting their CDLs. And then they're leaving the county, going elsewhere, even though we are giving them a raise, it's not significant enough to keep them. And I'd like to at least, and I don't know what this number is, but match what the state has. Because some of the people that we did lose were to the state highway department. Like our Farley blade, I think, went to the state.
Unretired.
Yeah, but at least if we could, or at least see what the other counties are paying with their roads, San Miguel, Taos, Union and Harding. See how it compares to the state. Because at this rate, I mean, once those 2 are CDLs, Glenn will be down to 2 guys. And probably it's going to impact you 2 more than, I mean, look, I think Commissioner Kern has the majority of the roads.
Roads, yeah, and I think pretty near all the bridges, low water crossings, and
Yeah, and then you up in the valley is the majority of the others.
yeah.
I have the majority of the paved roads, all the paved roads in my district. So those are my other items that I wanted to just share with the commission on thoughts that don't necessarily need to go into this interim budget, but to be considered down the road. That's all I have.
I don't have any additional comments other than what I've already stated at this time. Study this a little bit more.
Yeah, you and me both. I thought we were somewhat better than that. And Commissioner Trujillo covered one of my comments, and Got a couple, three more, but I ain't sure what to do with them at the moment. Here. So we calculated in a manager and all the employees that were short that's approved is in this.
So Justin, if you want to bring up your spreadsheet again, I have the number here and I'll forward this to you. The USDA is 46,900.
Yeah. Seen it somewhere. Thought,
It's under miscellaneous
yeah,
appropriations.
miscellaneous appropriation. Yeah, right there.
There's an associated revenue. So update that.
Good. Ooh, yeah. Oh, it wasn't put in the 26. It was 45,750 for last year.
I'll find where that was budgeted for revenue. Might just be in reimbursements.
Well, we don't receive any money for it. Rita's payout.
Oh, okay.
Extension. What extension put in for, do you remember?
That's what I'm trying to
I
find.
had it.
It's
Yeah.
110.
I don't know, last year it was, 105,784. I was thinking it was, but
Thought I sent it out, but
yeah, I've got it somewhere on my computer. But if I punch in your name, that's 2 hours reading.
it's not that bad.
Uh-huh.
With all the forwards, yeah, buddy.
It's gotta be important.
Not complaining, just information.
It looks like it's 110,000 even in FY25, so I'm gonna bump that up to 110.
So you found it?
Well, I found it. I'm just looking at the expenditures for FY25 right now. I don't have the 26.
Yeah. Yeah, annualized 110.
I'll get Bo to resend it.
105,870 or 784 was the budget.
Did we touch the dispatch agreements at all?
Are they? That was second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they'll leave us alone this year since they did it last year.
And I guess, I don't know if there's Brett, any crazy expenses you're thinking? You gonna have a AC unit?
AC unit will be, but,
Whatever happened to them wanting our office downstairs? the old
I ran into him the other day.
treasurers.
I ran into them the other day, told them about it again. They're still where they're at. I mean, they're kind of
I've
just
seen it.
in limbo, but
Now, do they pay lease or is that?
I don't think so, because I think
I don't think they do.
they're in a federal building.
They're on a different fiscal year too.
Yeah,
The end of their year, September. Probably wouldn't know anything till then.
another one quit or retired or something.
But for us, that wouldn't be a
No,
revenue or an expense.
It could be
really.
though.
What's that?
They could budget.
yeah,
They could pay rent.
They could.
Yeah. Well, they-
Justin, I think you made a note on the insurances, but I did see that they were increasing 10% on the county insurance, or at least proposing to increase the premiums for the counties. But these numbers for the estimates were going down from prior when we were looking at it earlier. So I think that we may need to just double check with Leroy. Is he with us?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, Leroy, when you met with them, did they really indicate these numbers would be going down? Like workers' comp and commercial and all of these?
I talked to
I talked to Ms. Stevenson up from there and she ran the reports based off of what I was requesting, and she's the one that sent the schedule back saying that those were for the fiscal year 25 numbers for each line item.
So we do have to update our insurance stuff. I don't think it's been updated right for a while.
When I talked to you about it in March, you said we would do it in June when they opened it up.
Yeah, because we reached out to New Mexico counties about adding stuff to our policies for vehicles, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
They told us to hold off till that period, that they are insured, but just they redo it once a year. And then it's, so I think when we do update everything, we'll probably see an increase. But
Okay.
there was stuff on there that was vehicles that were sold 10 years ago that will come off.
I know, yeah. And then did you guys looked at the MVD records too to try to reconcile them?
Yeah, we found all the vehicles.
yeah.
We're good there. So we had an extra like 11 vehicles. We didn't know where they were at.
Mhm.
Refound them. We have them accounted for. And we're making sure they were with the senior citizen centers. So,
Okay.
and we're making sure all those people are taking the defensive driving classes since they fall underneath the county.
Nice.
But other than that, we're good to go with the vehicles. Now whenever their open enrollment comes in, we'll go in through and give them all the correct information and get that updated.
And they were also saying that a lot of the value of the vehicles were higher than what they should be. So if we reduce those amount when it comes out, they said it should also drop the premiums.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it as is then, it sounds like, until maybe final budget.
Okay.
Okay. So Justin, if you can make us a note to that effect, just so we don't forget and then try to look at it again. Put it down and pick it up and put it down and pick it up. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
And this is, sorry,
Those numbers should have been given at,
what's that?
those numbers should have all been given though at the conference. What those costs were gonna be.
I'll follow up on that.
It's all in a book at my house.
Okay.
I thought I did have them and I sent them along. I'll just go grab them. Let me write down some notes.
Yeah, they send out
NMC
a
insurance.
parcel on it.
I sent out the law enforcement what is it, the law enforcement and jail fund, that one was increasing like crazy.
Might be getting a little into the nitty gritty here, but Leroy, I think you need to actually look at individual expenditure line items for each of the insurance line items and make sure there's not any other things going on in those accounts. Looks like this one decreased because there was some extra payment here. This was the amount that was given to us, but there's additional capital adequacy and something to do with PTO and sickness. I don't know what that would be referring to, so it'll require additional research is kind of the bottom line.
Thank you.
What is that?
VFIS is with the fire departments.
Yeah, what I thought.
We'll have to pull that invoice and see what it is. I don't know either.
That one might not be right because that's VFIS is associated with fire departments.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, and so that's actually something that came up during the fire council is so they have insurance costs that are budgeted in the fire funds. I think that amount, we already kind of identified that amount as needing to be allocated. The expenses allocated to the various fire funds. So it probably doesn't need to be budgeted here. It needs, and it already is budgeted elsewhere. So it's just a journal entry that needs to be made.
We budget it when we turn it in to the state. Our complaint is supposedly it's paid in November and the funds are never pulled. It always shows there. If it is paid, it should be pulled and go back into general fund where it belongs. Was the point on it.
Okay. So I have one other point and then I'm done. The longer we sit here, the more things pop in my head.
Yeah, me too.
But I hate saying it. Sounds ridiculous. The cost of stamps. But I know the county mails out a ton. You got the assessors with the valuations, the clerks with the voting IDs, everything else. The treasurers with the bills. So what is it? Stamps 75 cents now? Cheaper at the machine. So
Various funds have a postage and mail service. I mean, here probably clerk selection. This one's been bumped up already.
Okay.
I can check clerks.
This if they're all going up a little.
Clerks has been increased. Who else?
Assessor.
Yeah. They're flat. So
The prior year or
like 15.5 on it.
Yeah. Is there any in the property valuation fund? Not really.
Not a lot. We do 12.
And the treasurers has mailings and so does solid waste. The jail?
30.
Okay.
Not sure. Is solid waste not sending out actual mails? Is it by email or is there not actually expending?
It's probably coming out of the county manager's office.
They send bills though.
Unless it's probably not being paid out properly.
It needs to be allocated.
Yeah, you want to go to the county manager's office?
Yeah.
I bet you will see an increase in mailings.
Now, so we have increased that budget to account for that, I think. Yeah, it used to be not much and then it suddenly.
Yeah, I think they're mailing out solid waste bills through there because I can't foresee the county manager's office sending out. Right, Commissioner Kern, $4,000 in mailings a year.
It's solid waste.
It's solid waste. Yeah, cause you sent out two on the letter of beginning then plus billing. So,
Then there was several extras that were sent out last year
yeah,
unnecessarily.
Yeah. I'm burnt out.
Hot in here.
okay,
I think we take the rest of it back, and if we have any questions or suggestions, we just email Justin.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Like every department to go over theirs and respond to Justin and us. So
Thank you, Audrey.
we can see what you're looking at also. And yeah, thank you, Justin, Audrey. Push.
Sure. I think it's good government. I think you all are in a good place to be able to just sit and think things through and look at it carefully and come back to it again. And we're early. So yeah, we're in a good spot. I feel good about it.
Thank you for your help with getting us here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and all the department heads, that's what I was really appreciative that they were able to come meet and fire as well so that we could get their input first. So thank you to everyone. Have a good day.
Too, thank you. Once I get this, I'll send it out to all the department heads. Thank you all.
Excellent. Talk to you guys later. Have a good day.